let's talk about fitness. In an ideal world, we would all be blessed with a super fast, ultra efficient metabolism. But in real life, most of us have only to glance sideways at a plate of pasta to feel our genes tighten. Seems like even if you work out and eat clean consistently, a sluggish metabolism can thwart your best intentions, making you feel like you're stuck on a plateau. But what if I tell you your super fast metabolism possible? A book, Turbo Metabolism, is in stores and has started to change many lives and leads it to a healthy and happy state, both mentally and physically. Let's hear it from the author and internal medicine, obesity medicine expert, Dr. Pankaj Vij.
Tell us, Dr. Vij, that over the years, what have you experienced the common elements are with all the South Asians?
Seema, thank you for having me on the show. Yeah, the common elements with a lot of South Asians are that we are hard workers, right? Many of us are first-generation immigrants. We are really focused on our work, and as a result, we sometimes neglect everything else to really work as hard as we can and achieve as much as we can in the work world. But oftentimes, the health suffers in the process. So we end up eating not the healthiest food. A lot of times it's processed food, or we're eating irregular hours. We're not having time to exercise because we're staying late at work, commuting long distances, traveling. We're in this constant state of go, 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 constantly stressed. Oftentimes we bring work home, then we're logging in and connecting with teams overseas, or just staying so connected with our work at home that we're neglecting all the other things that we need to focus on, like getting to bed in time and getting to sleep. And as a result, we notice that over the years, we're putting on pounds, we're gaining inches on our waist, and we compromise our health, only to realize sometimes 10, 15, 20 years down the line that we've done some damage, and now that's a wake-up call, and we need to take some action to reverse that damage.
So it's like not stopping for gas.
It's like not stopping for gas. It's like, you know, I worked so hard to get all this stuff, and in the process, I spent my health, but I got a lot of money. Now I have to spend that money to get my health back.
Yeah, so that is everyone's story, literally everyone's story, not South Asian. Every American who's living in this country is that story. So that you're working hard so that you can be successful, you can, provide for your family, achieve all the dreams. But I guess it's just not possible to have it all because your body has to cooperate eventually. So why do we gain weight, and how do we lose so quickly and then we gain it back? So what is the primary reason? Because we are not meant to be overweight. I think nature intended us to be just right. We did something wrong over the years that we gained weight and we didn't lose that quickly.
That's so true, Seema. Essentially, we've changed the environment, right? We're built for a certain environment. Humans have evolved over hundreds of thousands of years, living in an environment of food scarcity, having lots of physical activity, and having downtime. When the sun would set, people would go into their cave and go to sleep. Now we're in an environment of being connected 24/7. We have an abundance of food. A lot of it is convenient, processed food that's coming out of packages and boxes, and it's frozen. And everybody's working, so we're in a hurry. We fix something and quickly eat it and watch some TV and go to bed. And that's not the environment that we have evolved over hundreds of thousands of years. So really, if you think about it, it's only in the last century that all these changes have come, probably with the advent of the light bulb, which enables us to do many wonderful things, but at the same time, it enables us to really do many unhealthy things as well.
And as South Asians, we are predisposed a little bit towards the heart health. Our arteries are not very wide, and I think our diet is like that we are also bent towards diabetes. However, we do come from a country of Ayurveda, so we do have a spiritual aspect to it. Our generations have also eaten very fresh and more vegetarian foods. But we still see a tendency, a new trend growing towards that we are all going towards diabetes and heart health. Not all, a lot of us, unless we actually put a stop on it. So tell us a little bit, in your practice, what you really saw was one element that we all did incorrectly, and you felt it was easily fixable?
Well, going back to the Eastern philosophy angle, I think we really need to think about this as a mind-body disease, right? You see someone who's obese, they're 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight, and now they have high blood pressure, they have diabetes, they're having heart problems. You really need to take a few steps back and go upstream, because all these problems happen way downstream. But when you go upstream, you look at it from a mind-body angle, you really can't fix the body until you work on fixing the mind. And that's where I think you mentioned Ayurveda, and they talk about mind-body constitutions and really eating and living in congruity with the environment that you're built for. And you mentioned South Asians having a much higher incidence of heart disease. Part of that is that, you know, we have a thrifty gene. Just like we're really thrifty, we're really good at saving money, and we put, you know, money in the piggy bank and it grows. Similarly, we have evolved in an environment of food scarcity. And in food scarcity, we do really well. But when we're in an environment of food abundance and really being in an overfed state for days and days and months and years, then there's really no time of being in the non-fed state. We just accumulate all that extra fuel that we're not burning, and it gets stored as fat.
So how did you treat your patients? I know your expertise is obesity.
Yes.
So what measures were you taking to treat them? Through medication, through lifestyle, through putting them on a certain diet and exercise regimen? So how did that work out for you over the years?
So I've done all of those things that you mentioned, but you know, it was about a decade ago that I took a pause, and this revelation came to me that if all these problems are coming as a result of lifestyle, then the treatment must be lifestyle too. So we need to really look at the cause and treat the cause of the problem. And you can really summarize it in 6 words, Seema. You'll fix what's going on with the forks, feet, and fingers, right? What do we do with our forks? We eat. What do we do with our feet? We move. What do we do with our fingers? We could smoke or take in other toxins. Things aren't so good for your health. So for forks, feet, and fingers, sleep, stress, and love. So when we focus on those 6 things, the latter are very obvious. Sleeping in the amount that we need to be sleeping so that the body gets good quality sleep, quality and quantity of hours of sleep. We have good ways to manage stress so that we're emotionally resilient to make the right choices. And we have a supportive social network of loving people around us that can help us make those right choices, help us stay accountable, help us move in the direction of being healthy and having energy and vitality no matter what age we may be.
I met Dr. Vij, and I mentioned to him at a social gathering some time back that, you know, I'm a marathon runner, and, you know, I train very hard throughout the year, etc. But there are 2 things that I really struggle with. One was to keep my blood work results in check without medication, which I wanted to, and 2 was to lose some weight. And he mentioned to me that, you know, why don't you try and relook at your diet and go from whatever you consume today to a well-balanced, plant-based, nutrient-rich food. And that basically set me thinking and started having me rediscover everything that I could possibly do. So I cut out some grains from my food. I started consuming more vegetables and different kinds of vegetables, more color in my food and all of that. And lo and behold, over time, for the very first time after 10 years of being a marathoner and a long distance runner, for the very first time after 10 years, all my blood work results came out normal, and then I got this jump start on my weight loss.
Tell us why and how you wrote the book, and what all does the book cover, and what do we expect when we read the book?
Yes, so the book covers those master levers of health that I mentioned. It's all about forks, feet, and fingers, sleep, stress, and love. So I've really dedicated sections of the book to each of that. But the maximum emphasis is on food, the forks part, because face it, 80% of what's happening to you health-wise is a result of the food decisions that you're making. So I think, Seema, you said it wonderfully, that every time you get ready to put something in your mouth, you have to ask yourself that simple question. You can pause for a second and ask, am I feeding health or am I feeding disease?
Just give us a few ingredients to our viewers at the end that they should absolutely include in their diet every day, and one or two other things, like if they're getting started tomorrow and they're getting ready to read the book and make a lifestyle change. But before they do that, like a pre-stage for just a couple of weeks, small slight changes that they can start bringing, and then they can slowly, gradually wean in to all the lifestyle changes that you talk about.
Look in your kitchen pantry, look in your refrigerator. If you know things, if you can, and you know, you have to be honest about this. And if you see things that clearly belong in the trash list, and actually have a trash list in the book as well, in the Let's Get Started chapter. So you take out the processed foods, you take out the packaged foods as much as possible. If you have cookies and ice cream and all the namkeens that you bought from the Indian store that are all fried and greasy, you probably want to throw away much of that and replace it with healthier options for snacks and convenient meals as well. So you might replace that with raw nuts. You might replace that with some seeds of some sort. You should have a big fruit bowl that's visible, that's right there when you enter the house. So if you're hungry or the kids are running out in a hurry, they can grab an apple or an orange rather than grabbing a package of cookies, right? So those are some of the pre-steps that they could take. And when they're ready to get started, one really simple thing that everybody can do starting tomorrow morning, including you, Seema, would be to replace one meal with a salad as a main course, right? Not salad as the side, but salad as the main course. And Ayurveda tells us that your digestive processes are strongest in the peak of the day, in the noontime hours. So then that meal should be your lunch hour, where you might have a nice heaping salad with lots of greens, some beans. These could be beans that you made the night before, something like chana or rajma, or even some dal that's left over. Like legumes are a really good source of protein for vegetarians that are worried about where do I get my protein. So greens, some sort of beans. You can throw some onions, some mushrooms, some berries and seeds on the top. And I guarantee you, you're not going to feel hungry. You're not going to feel bloated. You're not going to feel sleepy in the afternoon after that meal. It will cover you for the next 4 or 5 hours. So, Mr. Jones, you had this stroke 2 weeks ago, and I think it should be a real wake-up call, because you realize that this happened because of blockages, plaque building up in the arteries, which is a direct result of how your diabetes was doing, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's it's been a wake-up call.
Yeah. So I think we need to work together to where we can really double up the efforts to get the diabetes under good control, get your metabolism working the way it should. That means making some changes with the diet, as we discussed, and with the activities, as we've been discussing for the last few minutes. So what do you think our action plan should be moving forward?
Well, as we discussed, stay on a whole food, plant-based diet, and get my exercises, the physical therapy in line, and try to increase my stamina and work on my voice.
It's time for a very short break, but don't go away. There's lots more on the other side. Stay with us.
Suffering from sinus conditions.